Have you ever stopped and wondered if the problems we're all dealing with today, distraction, judging people too quickly, always waiting for that next thing, are actually ancient problems? Well, today we're going to dive into a text that's almost 2,000 years old, the Miscellaneous Parables Sūtra, to find some surprisingly modern answers in its timeless stories. All right, let's get into it.
So here's the plan. First, we'll quickly cover what a parable even is. Then, we're going to explore three really powerful stories, one about focus, one about perception, and one about living in the present. And then we'll wrap it all up by looking at how this ancient wisdom really holds up for us today.
Okay, so before we jump into the stories, let's just be clear on what we're dealing with here. These aren't just simple fables for kids. No, they're more like precision-engineered tools for understanding. Right, so a parable takes a huge kind of abstract idea and wraps it up in a story that's easy to remember. It's a way of teaching that doesn't just tell you the answer, it actually helps you feel it and get it on a much, much deeper level.
Our first story tackles a massive idea, the power of our mind, our internal state, to literally shape our external reality. And this story pushes that concept to its absolute limit.
I mean, that's a wild question, right? But that's exactly what this first story asks. Can a mind become so focused, so completely unified, that it just can't be touched by anything in the outside world? So the story goes like this. There's a monk, and he's deep in meditation, in a state the text calls dingyi, which is like a totally unified focus. A massive wildfire starts sweeping through, burning everything in its path, but it just burns right around him. He's left completely untouched. People see this, and they can't believe it. They figure he has to be a ghost, so naturally, they decide to attack him.
So they try to strike him with a sword, and the sword just shatters on his skin. It literally can't harm him. But the incredible part isn't what happened, it's why.
The text tells us exactly why. His mind was his armor. Because his mind was unified, totally focused, it was impenetrable. And because it was pliant or flexible, not fighting against the fire, the flames just passed over him. It's this incredible metaphor for how a focused, non-reactive mind can move through the chaos of life. Honestly, you could almost read it as an ancient description of a perfect psychological flow state where you're so deep in concentration that the outside world loses its power over you.
Okay, let's move on to our next story. This one challenges something we do every single day, probably without even thinking about it, making snap judgments based on how things, and especially people, look on the outside.
Just imagine, for a second, that you've been preparing for this one super important meeting your whole life. You've got everything ready, the stage is set, but what happens if the person you're waiting for shows up and they don't look anything like you expected?
There's this devout patron, and his greatest wish is to meet the bodhisattva of wisdom, Manjushri. So he throws this huge feast and saves the best, highest seat for his honored guest. But before Manjushri arrives, this old, dirty, disheveled man just wanders in and plops himself down in that special chair. The patron is just disgusted, and without a second thought, he physically throws the old man out. Then, that night, the patron has a dream. And in this dream, he finds out the shocking truth. The person he'd been waiting for, Manjushri himself, was that old man he tossed out of his house. He'd literally met his goal, and in his own judgmental blindness, he threw it away. And the lesson here is so clear. The path to wisdom isn't about finding some special, perfect teacher to learn from. It's about cultivating what the text calls an equal mind, treating every single person you meet with the same basic respect, because you truly never know who's about to teach you your next big lesson. This final story, man, it explores a trap that is so incredibly easy to fall into. It's this idea of putting our happiness off until some future event happens. You know, that dangerous way of thinking, I'll finally be happy when.
It sounds like a total paradox, right? How can a good, even a spiritual goal actually be the thing that gets in your way? Well, this story shows us exactly how that can happen. So, we have this very wise and respected monk who is on his deathbed, and his students are just shocked to find out that he hasn't reached full enlightenment yet. His reason sounds pretty noble. He's holding on to life because he wants to be there to meet Maitreya, the next Buddha who is supposed to appear in the world. But then his disciple asks this devastatingly simple question. He basically says, okay, but will the truth that Maitreya teaches be any different from the truth that's available to you right now? Why wait for some grand future event to realize a universal truth? The teaching is the same whether it's today or thousands of years from now. And in that instant,
You can just imagine the light bulb going off for the master. He gets it. He lets go of his attachment to that future goal, to that when. And the moment he stops waiting, bam, he achieves full enlightenment right then and there. The paradox is just right there in front of you. The very goal he was striving for was the only thing stopping him from reaching it.
Now, these stories are amazing. They're really inspiring. But the sutra itself is also very realistic. It's not all magic and instant enlightenment. It admits that trying to apply this kind of wisdom, well, it's incredibly hard. Yeah, it doesn't just leave us with these lofty tales. It grounds them in reality by laying out what it calls the 18 difficulties on the path. And this isn't meant to be a bummer. It's more of a humbling reminder of just how many things have to go right for us to even get started on this journey. And just look at what's on this list, just being born human, having all your senses and limbs, finding a good teacher, and then, and this is a big one, actually having the ability to understand and act on what you learn. Each of these is considered a rare and difficult achievement. It's a pretty profound way to make you appreciate your own circumstances, you know? And that brings us right back to where we started. The core challenges in these parables, the challenge to stay focused in a chaotic world, to see people for who they are beyond surface judgments, and to actually live in the present instead of always waiting for the future, these are fundamental human challenges. They are just as real and just as important in our world of social media and endless notifications as they were 2 millennia ago. So, the real question to leave you with is this. As you go about your life, which of these ancient lessons feels most urgent for you right now? Is it the need for that focused, unbreakable mind? The call to practice an equal mind toward everyone you meet? Or is it the challenge to let go of waiting for some future happiness and find your enlightenment today? Which lesson from the past speaks loudest to your present?